Hello, 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 and welcome to Updog Sports Talk. My name is Matt Miller, and this is our AFC South preview.
Woo! Let's go.
Is Justin McGovern. What is up, Justin?
Matt, I'm excited to be here today. Excited to talk about the AFC South. The NFL season is so close. You can almost smell it. Let's go ahead and dive in here.
You smell that?
When I can. What is that?
It smells like footballs and turpentine.
Yeah. All right. So starting this off here, the Houston Texans. Pretty much it's the same picture I've been using for every episode that we talk about them. But I can't help it. I mean, this guy's neck is so freaking long. I just realized like his neck is so long. Look, like he literally ripped this shirt that's under his jersey.
Yeah.
It just can't contain the neck.
No, I think he cut it so it could fit.
Yeah. One way or another, he knew it was getting ripped. But diving into this team, obviously the number one question is this long neck Davis Mills the answer? What do you think, Matt?
I actually think yes. I did. So he played 12 games last year. If you average it out to him playing the full season, he would have had like 4,300 yards passing, like 30 touchdowns and like 20 interceptions, which is not bad for a rookie on a terrible team. I'm just saying. I don't think he's like a long-term option, but he's good enough for one of the last place teams in the NFL. They can surprise a few people, but the fact that Derek Stingley does not want to be there already, not a good look.
That's a bad start.
Yeah, they don't. Who do they have at running back now? I don't like.
So have they? First of all, I'm going to disagree with you here on Davis Mills. Stats are all nice and fine, but when you're padding stats and blowout losses every single week, of course you're going to put up some good-looking stats. He does not like. He can. They basically went to like a playbook where they kept throwing a bunch of short passes everywhere because
that's literally Tom Brady
no,
for his first 3 Super Bowls. Like.
Yeah, but unlike Tom Brady, he offers no threat downfield. Tom Brady can go downfield if he wants to.
That's true.
Davis Mills can.
Now, I'm not saying Davis Mills is Tom Brady. I'm just saying that's
Come on,
the style
now,
of offense.
Don't go that far. Don't even get close to that.
We can't blame the short and intermediate throws on the quarterback. Yeah. Not always.
Now, to the running back position, I mean, they pretty much like cycled through a rotation of old washed up running backs last year. I think Rex Burkhead, the man who once saved Nebraska from a loss to McNeese State, ended up leading the team in rushing yards, and that was mostly because
everybody here in Cincinnati loves him, and a lot of people in Boston love him.
Yeah, and I think that was because he had like a good game like late in the year, but otherwise they had no answers to the running back position this year.
Yeah.
They have cleared out all the old veterans they had from last year, except for Rex Burkhead. I think he's still around. But now they have Marlon Mack, who was once a 1,000-yard rusher with the Colts, but
I never really had faith in him.
He tore his Achilles, wasn't it, like a few years ago? Yeah. And he hasn't. He's
not going to be the same running back.
Still coming back from that. They have a rookie in Damian Pierce, who might make an impact, but yeah, they still have a lot of questions to the running back position. Receiver, they don't have much of anything outside Brandon Cooks, who was pretty much a journeyman at this point in his career. Like he's been all around that NFL. It actually feels like the first time he's been with a team for his second season in years.
Yeah, since his New Orleans days.
Yeah, I would say. Well, I mean, we have to give the offense a strength somewhere. Surprisingly, one thing that people don't know is this team actually has a pretty decent offensive line. Might even be top 10 in the NFL. That is the one strength this offense has.
Well, who's their coach now?
Lovie Smith, of all people, is their coach now.
Lovie Smith. I don't know. He's beloved in the entire state of Illinois, unless you're a Northwestern fan.
Or actually, if you were a University of Illinois player under him.
Yeah, that's true. But I
I
mean,
don't know
like
what
he did
happened there, but
good things for the Bears, and he did okay for the Bucks. So hey, see what he can do in Houston, I guess. All right, they're gonna finish
yeah.
top 5 in the draft next year, so we can move on from them.
Next, we have the Indianapolis Colts, who I think we're both rocking a jersey of the same man here, Pat McAfee. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah,
There we go.
we're
Uh,
we're big fans. This show's a big fan of Pat McAfee show and everything he does. So got to give him homage a little bit. But when it comes to the Colts, they're the most improved team in my opinion in this division. I mean Matt Ryan is a huge step above Carson Wentz. Even at like age of like 91. Um I mean, I thought Julio was going to go here to make it kind of more of a sure thing, but um, Michael Pittman's not bad. I like Alec Pierce. I think he can be a legit guy. Um, and then their defense is just nasty. They got Shaquille. Don't call him Darius Leonard.
Leonard.
So he changed his name. Just rebranding. That's what everyone calls him outside of football, and just kind of wanted to keep it synced up. So yeah, and then their secondary is not bad. They're a good, well-rounded team. Obviously, they have the best running back in the NFL. Jonathan Taylor, probably number one in every draft board for fantasy this year, and they're just gonna eat. I'll get into the reason why I think they're gonna win the division, but a little later. But yeah, I got them winning the division.
Well, yeah, I gotta say the Colts are kind of the Super Bowl contender that no one's really talking about. Yeah, this is Matt Ryan's last chance to win the Super Bowl. Obviously armored by a strong run game. Matt Ryan doesn't have to do it all like he did in Atlanta, because in Atlanta he was surrounded by nothing for the last
Well,
several
he had
years.
Devonta Foreman when he was good.
um, but
Freeman,
yeah, they yeah, Freeman, not Foreman.
I
Um,
saw I saw Deontay Foreman get cut from the
oh
Titans.
yeah.
We'll get to that later. Go ahead.
But yeah, the offensive line is one of the best in the NFL, has been for some time, and it feels like they've kind of let it go to waste here by like last year, Wentz being way too erratic and like throwing interceptions in his own team's end zone and stuff, like just silly stuff that he did to like bring down the team almost, which we were high on Carson Wentz early in his career, so it was surprising to see him play like that. But yeah, they Matt Ryan will be a more consistent option there. I mean, receiver still is a question. Maybe they could still bring back T.Y. Hilton. They've been talking about, they've been working on it for months. It feels like now it still hasn't happened, but we'll see. Hilton isn't signed anywhere else yet, so I would imagine he comes back at some point. Maybe he just wants to skip part of camp, like the veterans like to do. Yeah, Pittman's the main receiver. Pierce is a rookie. Maybe he can step up. Paris Campbell's been looking good in camp, but will he stay healthy during the season? Nobody knows. He hasn't so far. That defense, they added Yannick Ngakwe. I cannot believe I
Yeah.
said that name almost correctly. They added him to fix pass rush because their pass rush was the main weakness of the team last year outside of Wentz. They couldn't get pressure on anybody. Now they got him to they sacrificed some run defending in order to add a bit more of a pass rush. So I'll be
Do
interested
they
to
still
see.
have Quiddy Pay and
Yeah,
DeForest Buckner?
yep, they still have those two.
Yeah.
It
So
was
they're not losing anything. They're just gaining.
yeah.
That defense is gonna be dirty though.
I mean, for Buckner, like he had a bit of a down season last year, but maybe having Ngakwe on the other side, butchered name the second time. I got it right the first time. Having him on the other side will maybe
Ngakwe.
open things up for Buckner, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this team does.
Yeah.
Definitely, the
Moving
Colts are
on.
low key contender. The Jacksonville Jaguars. This team was just a laughing stock last year. The Urban Meyer experiment was probably the worst coaching hire in NFL history. It literally could not have gone any worse. It went so badly. And I honestly like when I think about reasons to be optimistic for the Jacksonville Jaguars, it's that they no longer have the worst coach in NFL history. That's pretty much like the number one reason is that it can't get any worse than that. Now it's just like only coming up from there. Um, Trevor Lawrence struggled last year, but then again, the situation he was under made it rough.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I can feel pretty optimistic that he'll make a step up this year, especially with Doug Peterson there.
Yeah.
I
Doug
mean,
Peterson, I think he's going to take a step up. They got ETN back. They did overpay for Christian Kirk, but I mean, in this league,
overpaid.
look, sometimes you got to overpay, and he was actually literally just not. He was collecting dust on the bench in Arizona. Maybe Doug Peterson can repurpose him into an $84 million deal. But I mean, like they got some talent at receiver. Okay, offensive line. Like they could probably improve a little bit, but their defense,
Yeah,
it all comes down to what Walker can do. Um, he's the defining factor. If he can be what he was at Georgia, at like the end of last year, then
yeah,
they have no reason not to be a halfway decent defense. Like I don't think they're going to be making the playoffs or anything, but I think they're going to improve a little bit, at least enough to show like, hey, we're making the strides. Let's continue to build. So,
yeah.
yeah, like I don't expect much from them, but I also haven't since Mark Brunell left. So yeah, they could probably squeeze out like 7-ish wins.
Yeah, I could see that out of them. Yeah, I mean, like Trevor Lawrence and the pass offense and ETN kind of provide some optimism. I still question the offensive line. I don't think it's that good. And then on the defensive side, we'll see what Walker can do this year. I mean, literally, like this guy is like an absolute physical specimen, but the guy was really like kind of only even like somewhat of a situational pass rusher at Georgia.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't even a full-time starter. So really they were banking on development with him. I'm not sure how ready he's going to be to play this year. I mean, he's going to obviously come in at times, but how often is he going to play? Is he going to be an every down guy? That's a question mark that we'll have to find out during the season.
Yeah, Trent Baalke's taking a huge risk, and he's a risk and reward kind of guy.
Yeah, it's what he likes to do a lot.
Yeah.
And they made some weird free agency moves. They paid a bunch of mediocre linebackers a bunch of money. They like paying for mediocre players, it seems. So if you're a mediocre player, do you want a bunch of money? Go to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hey,
so this
I'll play
team,
there.
this team will be Matt. I don't know if you reach mediocre. You'd get ragdolled around there. Trust me, I would too.
Hey,
That's
for
why
84 million, I'd get thrown all over that place. Just not in the weird way.
Yeah, that's why we're only wearing jerseys of a punter and not actually punting.
Yeah.
Moving on here to the Tennessee Titans. Definitely getting Derrick Henry back from injury will be a main
Huge.
key. Keeping him healthy is going to be another thing. They need him to stay healthy this year. He is the engine that runs this team. Because Tannehill can't do it alone. We learned that in the playoff game against the Bengals, where Tannehill was kind of a disaster. It was probably one of the worst performances of his career. And now the receiving core is a huge question. They have a rookie in Treylon Burks and nobody else until later in the year. I'm not exactly sure when Robert Woods is going to come back, but even when he comes back, is he
Not
going to
this
look
year.
like the same guy? Not off a torn ACL, no. I mean, most of the times it takes a year to come back from that. Like you could come back and play, but you're not the same dynamic person you were before until like a year or so.
Yeah, and the reason why I think the Colts are going to win the division is simply because I don't think Tannehill is progressing. I think he's actually starting to regress a little bit. Derrick Henry, at this point, great player, but having trouble staying on the field.
Well, I mean, to be fair,
not
this was
not Christian McCaffrey level, but like
yeah,
he's overworked because of the offenses he's been in.
yeah,
Receiving, Burks has got to be AJ Brown esque or better. Like he has to carry the load. I mean, Austin Hooper is going to be your number 2 target, and then Nick West Ikine is your next receiver.
yeah. Like it's
Who
not good.
you're gonna have to be running like Derrick Henry's gonna have to get the ball. They just drafted Hassan Haskins and they have Dontrell Hilliard. So they're gonna have to throw to all those running backs. Who's their tight end?
Yeah, you just said
Hooper, but
Austin Hooper.
yeah, but they don't have anyone behind him. So like it's like
Yeah.
you like they have one of the best left tackles in the game. I love Taylor Lewan. And then his Bussin' with the Boys podcast, love him even more because of it. But
Yeah, it's a great podcast.
yeah, their defense not getting any younger. They got some
No.
solid pieces, but when it's cold,
And,
you can
going
kind of
back to
just
the
do
offensive
whatever you
line,
want with them.
going back to the offensive line, they lost. They had a few losses. They lost Roger Saffold. He's been a big
He
time
went to the
guard
Bills.
player for them. The past few years. So like the interior blocking even
Actually, they
is
lost 2
question.
offensive linemen to the
Yeah.
Bills.
So so yeah, the blocking might be more of a question this year. That defense though, like I mean, very quietly they've built up the past couple years. Like
I knew they
2
were
years.
good, but like it seems like Jadeveon Clowney pulled him down, and then is Bud Dupree still there?
Yeah, Bud Dupree is there.
He's got to
Jeffrey
step up.
Jeffrey Simmons.
He's a
Oh, and who was
beast.
they
Harold
had like a
Landry, Zach
Harold
Cunningham,
Landry, Zach Cunningham.
Kevin
Yeah,
Bayard. The rest of what
but
they have
yeah,
is just solid.
that trio of Harold Landry, Jeffrey Simmons, and Bud Dupree, like those 3, they got freaking after Burrow last year. Still not win that game, but they
But
got
Bud
9
Dupree
sacks in the
didn't do
playoff game.
much. He was
It
like
was, I mean,
Jadeveon Clowney from a few years ago. Like
it was
he didn't
mostly Harold
register a whole lot
Landry
of
and Jeffrey
stats. Yeah,
Simmons, but um, but yeah, so
but
that defense,
4 turnstiles would have been better than what the Bengals had at offensive line last year,
true,
and
but
they
yeah,
made the Super Bowl. So, but the
that
Titans,
defense,
in respect to the division, I think they're going to take a step back. I think
yeah,
they have enough to keep going with Derrick Henry to make the playoffs, or at least be in contention for the playoffs. But they're going to be the number 2 because Trevor Lawrence is going to have one hell of a season to get past the Titans. I think there's still
yeah.
a big gap between the Titans and the rest of the Texans and Jaguars.
Right. It kind of feels like a step back year for the Titans where they kind of because the salary cap moves they had to make and stuff, like it feels like they're gonna take a slight step back because the passing game just isn't good enough right now. And then there's still a couple I mean their defense is solid, not great. They do have one of the best coaching staffs in the NFL, which is why they can still make the playoffs. It just feels like, unlike last year, this team is not a Super Bowl contender this year. They aren't the best team in the division this year, it feels like. So, yeah, I still could see them making the playoffs. And since we're already hinting on it, we might as well just
Yeah,
jump
go ahead.
to our predicted finishing order. As we can see here, uh, I think everyone that is listening to this point could probably tell what order we were going to pick. Um, we both have the Colts winning the division. Again, I think they're a Super Bowl contender that nobody's talking about. That team is very strong.
They are
Um,
strong, but I think the lack of experience at the in the receiving core is what's going to be their downfall.
yeah,
That's why I think they're not a Super Bowl contender, but they're going to make. I think they're going to make the playoffs.
yeah. It really depends on how things develop. If they can get good contributions from Alec Pierce pretty quickly, he's gonna be a key player for them. Re-signing T.Y. Hilton would be huge if they can pull that off. He would definitely bring some experience into that room, and then hopefully him and Matt Ryan could develop a good rapport as well. And honestly, too, like I briefly mentioned if Paris Campbell can actually stay healthy, it would be interesting to see what he could become because he's the biggest speed threat this offense would have. But yeah, that defense will be pretty good.
Yeah,
Overall, though,
their defense is
Titans.
good. And they got Stephon Gilmore too, so
Yeah, let's
they're going
not
to be
forget
really
about
good.
that. Titans potential wild card contender, but they may end up missing the wild card even because the AFC is so competitive. But that team will be up there. I mean,
I think the Titans missed the playoffs simply because of the AFC West.
yeah.
Like that's the only reason why they missed the playoffs. Well, that and the fact that they made a bunch of bad decisions.
And don't forget that that is true. I mean, AJ Brown was a good young receiver. I don't know why they traded him away. Did not agree with that.
I
But
can't
don't
wait to get
forget,
to our NFC East to talk about the Eagles because man,
yeah. Hey, let's not give too much away there. But I
hey,
mean,
spoiler. No,
hey,
I'm
the
playing.
one leg up though the Titans have over other AFC contenders is they get 2 games against the Jaguars and Texans. Not many other teams get that, so that'll be pretty helpful for them this year.
Yeah, and I do want to say Clantan is Colts killer, so that could just blow up the entire division. I don't think the Colts have actually beat the Jaguars in years.
They have not been the Jaguars in Jacksonville in over 7 years. Also, the other problem is the Colts have won a season opener in a while either. If that streak continues when they open the season against the Houston Texans this year, they got problems.
Yeah. What if Davis Mills throws for like 530 yards and 5 touchdowns?
Also, after week 1, this whole prediction just looks completely backward.
Yeah. Well, that is the AFC South. We have bored you enough with our mindless banter of actual teams. Justin, you got anything?
No, I think we've already said too much. As soon as we start talking about the Texans being the Colts and Davis Mills throwing for 530 yards, I think we are pretty much done at that point.
Yeah. Do want to point out to everybody that these episodes are being recorded and then edited a few days later and then posted a few days after that. So some things that we talk about may or may not be behind the times. Just bear with us. We update as quickly as possible. But follow us on everything at Updog Sports Talk. And then like, comment, subscribe. Show us some love. We'll show you guys some love. All right. See you guys.
Have a good one, everybody.